A very good morning to you all. Today we're looking at a pen from a brand called Nettuno. This is their Superba Ruby fountain pen, and as you can see, it is quite a pretty pen. Nettuno is a branch of Mayora and Delta, so it's I believe a newer branch of those two companies, but they make a beautiful range of pens with more of a classical style would be my thought. This pen, as you can see, has a very almost Romanesque styling to it, with a nice thick center band with almost like a grooved detail, so it's got a little bit of texture on that center band. You get a standard clip with a little bit of detail to it. It's quite stiff, so there's not a lot of movement there, and your two rings around the top. Now this pen is celluloid, which is a material I like very, very much, because you can see that beautiful depth of color. So I'll spin the pen around and you can see both in the cap and the barrel that gorgeous amount of depth you get from the celluloid. It's also quite a nice material to hold. It's a very smooth, sort of soft material. It's got a little bit of maybe warmth to it as well. So I'm a very big fan of celluloid pens, and this one is no exception. If we look at the top of the pen, it's a flat top, and it looks like they've coved the celluloid slightly to get to the top of the pen, and quite similarly on the bottom of the pen we've got your two little rings and then that similar transition to the end cap. Now you do get a piston knob because this pen is a piston filler fountain pen, which obviously will just turn and fill up the pen, and otherwise there's not a lot of detail on the pen, although you can see on the barrel there it does say Nettuno Superba. Hopefully you can see that, although due to the color of the pen it might be a little bit hard to see. It does say Nettuno Superba Ruby, and it's got a number, so I got 111 of 238. I'm not sure why 238, I'm sure there is a reason for that, but it is a very, very pretty pen. It is on the longer side. If we look at dimensions, it's 147 centimeters in length. That's partially due to quite a big cap. So if you look at the size of the cap next to the size of the pen, it is quite a long cap. The length uncapped is only 135 mil. So 147 mil with the cap, 135 without the cap, so it does change quite a bit. It is quite a slender pen, so the barrel diameter is 14.9 mil, and the thinnest part of the section is 12 mil. So it is quite a thin section, but it does taper. So if you can see that section detail there, you'll see that it does taper in, so it gets thinner in the middle and then thicker at the end there, which I quite like. It makes it a very pleasant section to hold and stop your fingers slipping because of how it gets a little bit thicker at the end there. This pen is on the thinner side for me. I like a broader pen, just potentially because I've got big hands, but it's not uncomfortable. It does sit well in my hands, but probably on the thinner side of what I'd be happy to use. It does post. I actually find I prefer this pen posted because I find, again, the cap is quite big. You do get a little bit of thickness from the cap, so when I do write with it posted, you get quite a nice pen just because of that extra size and weight of the cap. So my preference is posted, but once again, it's quite versatile that if you do have smaller hands or you'd rather it unposted, it can work as well. But I mean, that celluloid barrel is really the standout for me for this pen, and the lovely feeling and texture you do get from that. It's a threaded cap, of course, so the cap will thread on, but it's a very pretty Romanesque, quite a beautiful pen from Nettuno. In terms of what I like and don't like about it, I like the celluloid a lot. I like the nib a lot. It's a 14 karat nib. So we saw, if I uncap it for you once again, it is a number 6 nib. I do rather the number 8 nibs. And in fact, I feel like they could have done a little bit more on the nib. It's maybe a little bit plain next to the rest of the pen, which is quite pretty. If you look at, I did a review of the Delta, the Dolce Vita, which has a very, very pretty nib, and even the Mayora Everest, which is another company pen from the same company, they have beautiful nibs, where I find this one is a little bit plain. So for a very pretty pen, maybe the nib is a little bit plain. Once again, I guess that's a bit of personal preference on whether you think that's a thing. And also, it's a little bit small, the nib. It's a number 6 nib. I do rather, personally, the number 8 nibs to the number 6 size. And I think it would be a bit more impressive with a number 8 nib. But it is a 14 carat nib. It is on the stiffer side of the 14 carat nibs. I generally find the number 6 nibs are quite a bit stiffer than the number 8 nibs across the board, but for the gold nibs as well. So if you are looking at gold or steel or number 6 or number 8, remember the number 8 will be wetter, I normally find, and softer. That being said, this pen does write very, very well. So there's no complaints on how it writes, but I feel like a number 8 nib would have been nice. Price point wise, I believe these are on the higher end, the higher sort of €500 end of the price scale. I think the celluloid barrel, the 14 carat nib, contributes to that price point, and I guess a limited pen, a limited number as well, so whether or not that's valuable for you. But I think it's a very pretty pen. I like the celluloid, I like the gold nib, and I will show you a writing sample now and see what you think. Thanks. So here we are with the Nettuno Superba Ruby. Again, this is a 14 carat nib, and the paper we're using today is Tomoe River paper. So if we write Nettuno Superba in the ruby, which is obviously celluloid, we can see it is a relatively wet pen. I wouldn't say it's obscenely wet, but it's definitely not dry either. Line variation is minimal. You don't really get a lot of flex out of the nib at all. That being said, it is smooth, it is consistent. I haven't had any hard starting or skipping at all with this nib. So very, very pleasant. It is a lovely nib to use, to be honest. It really writes well. You do get a nice bit of softness and smoothness out of it, but it's definitely not flex. But for an everyday writer, I think it's quite pleasant. Being a medium nib, I think the line weight is quite good, although maybe on the thicker side if you're used to more of a Japanese writer. In terms of how I hold the pen, as I mentioned earlier, I do find it has quite a comfortable section with that rounded detail there, and quite pleasant to hold and to use. So that's my feelings today with the Nettuno Superba Ruby. I'd love to hear what you think, and please feel free to leave comments below. Thanks again.